Let me start this video off by saying that this video is completely constructive criticism. Okay, so please do not take anything that I say in this video personally. Typically, I use a lot of profanity, but I'm not going to use profanity for the purposes of this video because I want you guys to clearly understand my message and what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to get you all to understand. And this is to the gun community. This is to, pretty much every gun channel on YouTube with a few exceptions. Okay, this would be, to the Colio Noirs. This would be to, I'd say Yankee Marshall, but he used to do reviews on more affordable guns. Military Arms Channel, Nothing Fancy, Such, and the list goes on and on, right? Now, there have been channels, and again, I just said those names because those are the ones that I can remember off the top of my head that I watch on a regular basis, but I'm pretty much subscribed to, almost every gun channel that I can think, major gun channel on YouTube that I can think of. Hank Strange, the list goes on and on. Okay, here is the issue. Okay, so I just watched Military Arms Channel make his video about what YouTube's new policy is on guns and how, the Second Amendment is under attack again. I remember the first wave because I've been on YouTube for 10 years. This is my shadow account where I just talk about guns and firearms and race culture and issues like that. But, I just watched the video. And, Military Arms Channel is up there talking about, the whole policy change that YouTube is going through. I watched, the Gun Collective's, interpretation of what's being said. And I gotta call BS on the gun community. I gotta call absolute BS on the gun community. And the reason I say this is because there is a difference between gun enthusiasts and those people who are actually trying to get more gun owners on their side of the fence, on their side of the political agenda. The reason why the gun community is losing the cultural war is because they don't create new gun owners. Okay? I have watched over the years the begging and the pleading from people who want to get involved into guns for these gun channels to do reviews on affordable guns. $200 guns, $300 guns, $400 guns max. Max. What do these gun channels do? They always start $500 and above. Oh, let's do a review on the HK VP9. Oh, let's do a review on the new Glock. Oh, let's do a review on the Beretta, M9, A3. Oh, let's do a review on this Chris, freaking, CZ variant. Let's do a review on the CC Shadow, $800,000, $900,000 handguns. And yet you all act like you can't comprehend why you're losing the cultural war. You're not getting young people involved. You're not getting new gun owners involved. Military Arms Channel, I understand his focus, historical guns and everything else, but he keeps having to make these videos, and I'm sorry if I'm sounding, angry right now, but I'm very passionate about this issue because it's very frustrating because I've already mentioned to numerous people, this is what you should do. And they don't do it. And they go out there and they continue to do reviews on super expensive guns, $2,000, 6-hour, X5 guns. And I'm like, why? Nobody can afford that. Now Mr. Guns and Gear, he's actually done guns on affordable, done reviews on affordable guns. The Sky Pistol, SD9VE, right? These are guns that you can be had for, especially with the whole Hillary Clinton didn't win the election, and all these gun manufacturers, basically have this surplus of firearms and parts, right? A lot of these websites have been literally giving guns away. I've been telling people for the longest time, especially in the African American community, if you're going to get into guns now. Because they're affordable. Anytime they start talking about gun ban, the prices go up. So, I hear all this crying and whining and fussing, coming from, all these gun channels on YouTube. And again, I've watched the request. Even Coleon Noir, I am, a loyal, dedicated follower of Coleon Noir. But Coleon Noir has not done a gun review on an affordable firearm since he got picked up by the NRA. It's like, in other words, people that get into firearms, right? They make more money, they're making money off of the YouTube channels and everything, right? They can afford better guns. They're out there buying Chris Vectors and everything else like that the average person can't afford. Nobody's dropping $500 plus on handguns, let alone multiple handguns. They're not. Why do you think everybody got so excited about Janique's, or Kanique, as some people like to say inappropriately, but Janique firearm? Now, the Military Arms did do a review on the Janique. And I'm not saying that you don't have, or the people that I'm addressing don't have 1 or 2 videos of these sort of affordable imported guns. But by and large, it's like the people who do car reviews on nothing but Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Yeah, it's cool for car enthusiasts, but when it comes to the manufacturing, what am I saying? When it comes to, the manufacturers of these automobiles, all they look at are sales, right? So, like, example, my brother, he's upset that they discontinued the Honda Accord. And I had to tell him, I'm like, nobody's buying a Honda Accord. That's why they discontinued it. And he's like, no, it's so popular. It's such a great car and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, who's going to buy those cars? Who's going to buy a Honda Accord? Think about it. A Honda Accord is a 2-door coupe, right? If I'm a young 20-something-year-old American, right? Single, childless, no kids. If I'm looking at a 2-door coupe, what am I looking at? A Mustang, a Camaro, or a Dodge Challenger? That's what I'm looking at. I want horsepower. I want the style. I want the speed. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at sensibility and reliability as it pertains to a Honda Accord. I'm not looking at that. A 2-door coupe, right? People who buy 2-door coupes are typically, young females and young males who are single and childless. Soon as people have families and have kids, what do? They go out and they buy, SUVs and minivans. Why? Because they got kids in tow now, right? So, when it comes to the gun reviews, when people are out there reviewing, these expensive firearms, that's great for fellow gun enthusiasts. But that is not good if you're trying to get more women into firearms. If you're trying to get more women into firearms, what should you review? 380s, right? Or small, compact, concealed carry 9mm, right? Again, Military Arms Channel. When's the last time he did a M&P Shield review? 2.0 or the original M&P Shield? Again, I don't have all his videos on mine, but I'm saying, when's the last time he did a review on the PT-111? It's funny because when you see Hickok 45 actually get an affordable gun, he almost starts off every one of these videos with, you guys have been requesting this for some time, and I finally got my hands on it. Yes, you should be paying attention to the request. If people say, hey, could you do some reviews on some more affordable guns? Could you do a review on the Diamondback DB9 FS? Could you do a review on that? Could you do a review on the SD 9VE? Could you do a review on the XD 40s, since everybody's dumping 40 and nobody wants a 40, but all these websites are giving away 40 calibers. They're giving them away. That's a damn good way of getting people involved in firearms. But again, the firearms enthusiasts have failed to do that. Now they're online crying like babies, talking about, oh, we got to stop this onslaught of the Second Amendment. Ooh, we got to fight back. Oh, go out there and contact your local, congressperson and this, that, and the third. I'm like, you would have done a better job had you been getting more firearms into the hands of regular people and turning them into first gun owners. Then they become firearms enthusiasts. You don't start by assuming everybody's a firearms enthusiast. First firearm I got, and most people will tell you the first firearm that they get has a safety on it. You know why? Because most of us are nervous and scared when it comes to firearms. And so we're like, oh, no, gotta have a safety. Then as you get more comfortable with firearms, and you realize, that, your gun has, like example, my first firearm was a Ruger P95, and it has a safety on it. And what I realized is with a 12 or 10 pound trigger, however heavy it is, it doesn't particularly need a safety. I would much rather just have a decocker as opposed to a decocker safety. But I didn't know that and didn't become familiar with that until I got the firearm. You see? So after that, then I was like, oh, no, I don't want a hammer fired. I want striker fired. And I don't want a safety. Because then you start thinking about scenarios in your head. Oh, well, I don't want a safety because, what if I have to pull out and you got high stress levels and your motor skills go out the window. Oh, no, I don't want a safety. I want to be able to, fire the gun immediately. Right? You become comfortable with having a round in the chamber. A lot of first time gun buyers aren't comfortable with having a round in the chamber. But then, they realize, if they had to pull out a firearm, maybe they only have one arm available, or maybe, or not even maybe, but the reality is the most likely moment for a gun to jam is when the action is cycling. So if the round is already in the chamber and you go to pull that trigger, most likely it's going to go bang. But if you actually have to rack around into the chamber, it could jam right there before you even get your first shot off. But see, these aren't things that new gun owners think about. Right? I mean, most people sell their first gun. Why? Because they transition into something more tactical. They transition into something that has that's less busy, less safeties, less things to fumble over. Right? And they just want a streamline Glock 19, and that's where they go. Or VP9 or some similar striker fired weapon. What I'm saying, my overall message of this video is, what is your goal? What is your goal? Is your goal to cater to firearms enthusiasts? Or is your goal to increase the number of firearms owners so that now you create a population of one issue voters? Right? Because, I voted, for locally for the first time for a Republican because of the firearm issue. Because of the firearm issue. Because I knew that a bunch of gun control laws were going to come barreling down in the state of New Jersey coming from Governor Murray. I read all the way down the list. And I'm African American. So socially, I'm liberal. Right? I have my issues. I've talked about that in various videos that I'm not going to do here. Right? That gets a lot of, folks, on the other side of the fence upset. But as an African American who have a completely different history in this country, I look at firearms ownership very differently from many of your average white Americans. As far as I'm concerned, we're only, 50, 60 years out of apartheid. So I have different reasons as to why I take firearms ownership seriously. And I do believe that even though there are people, and again, I've heard people, some of you have seen, my comments in the comment section, okay, underneath, a different YouTube account. But what was I saying? Yes, we have many differences, many things that we agree and disagree on and everything. But seriously speaking, firearm ownership should not be this sort of chalice that is merely held by the far right, or just the right in general. Firearms ownership should be should cross aisles, but it doesn't. And much of the reason it doesn't, is because of the way that it's approached. I've criticized, the NRA, and I've criticized many of these gun organizations. Again, I went to it was an NRA meeting in New Jersey. They turned me away, and they said, "Oh, well, you didn't sign up for something. You got to go online." They made up some garbage, because essentially I was the only African American male there. The whole room was full of nothing but, old white men, 55 years or older. I'm like, and that's what blows my mind. I'm like, white men are not even doing the job that they should be doing when it comes to young firearms owners. It's just literally, and I know that there's a difference in the community, or a divide in terms of FUDs versus, the other gun enthusiast. The FUDs are the ones that say all you need is a double-barreled shotgun. And that's all you need for self-defense, and a revolver, a cowboy gun. That's all you need, right? So I know that there's a divide. But again, I've seen the meetings, even in New Jersey, Second Amendment Society. You watch they got videos on YouTube. Watch the videos on YouTube. Yeah, they got some token black person here or there, but you just see nothing but old, gray-haired, pot-bellied white men. Meanwhile, when we go over here to this march on Washington, they got high schoolers. And this is what's so crazy to me. You got high schoolers. These young men, haven't even, they probably haven't even been with a woman yet. And, they can't imagine that at some future date, yeah, you're going to have a family that you're going to have to protect. You're not going to be able to wake up in the middle of the night and nudge your wife and look at her and say, "Gender equality, honey, your turn." Like, no, that's not how it's going to play out, right? You're going to have to get up and go and investigate and protect your wife. Because trust me, if you don't protect your wife, or she doesn't feel that you can protect her, that's pretty much a fast track to the inevitable end of that relationship. Because that's just how women are. That's how women feel. So you got to pay attention to that. So, you got young people, they up there talking about, violence in schools and everything else like that, not recognizing that. I'm like, you still got your whole life ahead of you, and you are disarming yourself to prevent yourself from having access to a tool that you might need later. But what the left has done is the left has gone to those young people and push their agenda on those young people. I'll further support how much I know that the gun community is on total BS. Okay? All you got to do is ask gun people, when's the last time you took somebody who was either anti-gun or not into guns to the gun range to expose them to guns? When's the last time you did that? See, a lot of the people on YouTube right now, whether it's Patreon or whatever, a lot of them, they're gun enthusiasts, and they're in it to make money on YouTube. That's what they're here to do. They're not really about, and I'm not singling that out to anybody. I'm just throwing that out there because there has to be some sort of disconnect. Or people aren't focused on that until, gun control comes rushing down the pipeline. But it's like, okay, in between from 2013 to 2018, seriously speaking, what have the gun enthusiast channels on YouTube done to increase the number of gun owners? What videos have they put out? Right? I mean, I got to give Nothing Fancy, some credit. It's like when he did the review for the P250. If you go and you watch that video for the P250, he had that couple that came there and, he's talking about, Hall of Fame gun, P250. P250 doesn't suck. Okay? And he had a couple that was at the range. They're new shooters. And what did he do? He helped them learn how to shoot the P250 more accurately because it has a long, light, double action pull. And so he said, pull, remove all the take up when you pull back the trigger, basically line up your sights and then release, right? So not only did he help them and get them to a proficient level, but now he just opened their doors up to them actually being interested in a gun that they probably wouldn't have been previously interested in because they thought that, it's just too hard to shoot. Which is why most people pooped on the P250 and why they raved about the P320. Because they have no trigger control. You see? So it's so frustrating. And again, I don't want to single out the military arms channel. I understand that he wants to do historical weapons, but I'm saying, seriously speaking, somebody who's just doing information on historical weapons, that's Forgotten Guns. What the Mac does is he's a gun enthusiast. He does reviews about stuff that he likes, which is cool, but where are the affordable guns? He's got the BMT or whatever gun it was, and I just got back my NFA, tax stamp. Okay, that's $200. Then he's got, look, I got this silencer on it. The silencer, how much is the silencer? $600. Oh, plus another stack damp. So that's another $200. So that's like $800. So that's more than even the $500 guns that most gun owners don't even start with when they buy their first gun. I got robbed the first time I bought my first gun, that Ruger P95. I paid $420 or something like that for it. Way too much. Way too much. Early 2000s is when I bought it. Okay? Now they got guns out here. The Ruger Security 9. Ruger Security 9. None of the big YouTube channels have done a review on the Ruger Security 9. How much do they want for the Ruger Security 9? Whether it's Kentucky Gun Company or, Sportsman Outdoors, right? How much they want for that gun? How many people have been raving about, hey, go over to CDN Sports. How much they want for that Ruger Security 9? $289, not including the transfer fee. How many of you big gun channels have been promoting firearms like that? Crickets. An affordable gun comes. How is it that the gun industry recognizes this, right? Taurus dropped all the prices on its gun. PT 111. How much for the PT 111? $200. $209 last time I checked over on Kentucky Gun Company, right? The Taurus 809. $274, right? Then they got all those specials on the single stack 9mm. Walther PPS M2 $299. That's not even talking rebate. That's just what it is. It just how many people have been advocating for websites to get the lowest prices on firearms to help out new gun owners like gundeals.net or what is it? Guns.deal. Wait, what is it? Gun.deals, right? I think it's something like that. It used to be Slick Guns, right? It's just insane. Like for people who want to say, you go out and contact your local, gun person or whatever. I'm like, you're not doing that. You're not increasing the numbers of gun owners. That's how you turn people into, hey, well, I don't want my guns to be taken. You got to give people what is called a fear of loss. A fear of loss is what makes gun owners, more active when it comes to the Second Amendment. A lot of your anti-gunners and whatnot, yeah, okay, they ride the wave, they go out there and they march, and then they forget about it. Because they're not actively thinking every day, I'm going to lose something that I have. They're talking about trying to get rid of something that somebody else has. The person that has the most to lose is usually the person that's going to go out there and fight the most. So it in my mind, it makes sense to me, right? It would behoove you to do whatever you can do to try to increase the number of gun ownership, right? To encourage manufacturers to provide us with more affordable firearms and firearms in the the $200 and the $300 range. That's what people can afford. The only reason prices have come down is because essentially, again, people aren't buying guns. They're buying guns whenever there's, a gun ban, right? And that's almost everybody. So, I mean, it's so funny because I know people who, they're not even gun people, but as soon as you start talking about banning guns, then they go out there and they buy their first gun, and then it just sits on the shelf forever collecting dust. I mean, go on any gun store right now, any online gun store. I guarantee you will get a notification as of this date of this video. What is it? The 23rd of March, right? And you'll get a big fat red notification across the top of the screen that says, that, there's a delay due to high volume of firearm sales. Your product won't be processed or will be processed in approximately 10 days. You get some notification like that. Right? I mean, it's every time we go through these cycles, and between 2013 with Obama with this first wave of gun control and 2018, what did the gun community fail to do? They have failed to significantly increase the number of new gun owners. I'm not saying that the number of new gun owners hasn't increased in general. I'm pretty sure that it has. But in terms of the actual effort and the actual work of gun owners and increasing those numbers, have they done what they're supposed to do? No, not at all. Not at all. And now they're up here crying and up here whining. Right? And if you feel like I'm coming at you a little bit, I am. Because it's total BS. The what I'm seeing, in terms of, all this, we gotta galvanize support, and they're winning the cultural war. They've been winning the cultural war. Because essentially the gun community is seen as nothing more but a bunch of old white men who, want to come with that, guns are about American apple pie and baseball and, from my cold dead hands, all that same rhetoric, but they can never articulate why the Second Amendment is important. They don't want to talk about genocides. They don't want to talk about, self-defense. They don't really want to talk about a tyrannical government. I've called this out, where you have white men who are arming themselves to the teeth against a tyrannical government, but then don't want to face the fact that if a tyrannical government were to happen, it would be white police officers, which are 93% of the police force, who would be kicking down their door, not black people. Officers are their best friend until you start talking about tyranny. Black people should, you should respect officers and you should follow the law and everything. But when tyranny happens to us, we're not allowed to respond. When tyranny happens to you, you talking about praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. You ready to go fight somebody. Again, I direct you to James Yeager, who is no longer with us, when it came to his rhetoric about, if they take one more step, I'm going to start killing people. If a black man said that, everybody would be all up in arms. It's people are not honest. Even if you go over and you look at the NRA's mission statement, Nothing in the NRA's mission statement says anything about fighting a tyrannical government. Doesn't say anything about self-defense. The NRA's mission statement is like, we're here for the aesthetic appreciation of and cosmetic appreciation of historical firearms and the preservation of the art form that is firearms. I'm like, really? Really? That's what you're about? It sounds like a museum to me. How do you keep the Second Amendment alive, right? When we got all this stuff going on in the world, whether it's robberies or school shootings or whatever, and the reality of the ugliness of having to shoot another human being. How do you have that discussion when your whole platform starts from the aesthetic, artistic expression of firearms and the cosmetic beauty of this musket? How do you have a legitimate conversation about that? The purpose of the Second Amendment, if you really want to understand the purpose of the Second Amendment, because they want to say, oh, it's about militias. It's not about militias, because if it was about militias, then the Second Amendment wouldn't apply to freed African slaves. Okay? African Americans, when they were freed, had nothing to do with militias. Anyway, moving from that point, what was I going to say? The Second Amendment. Oh, I remember. If you really want to understand the purpose of the Second Amendment, and you want to shut people down and shut people up when they want to, say that the forefathers didn't plan this and they couldn't have thought of, musket. All you got to do is go to the preamble of the Declaration of Independence, because it says right in there, right about the third or second paragraph, that starts off, we hold these truths to be self-evident. It's like nobody ever reads the rest of that. If you read the rest of it, it says right in there, that, if a tyrannical government becomes too tyrannical, you overthrow it. Not for transient reasons, but if it becomes so unbearable and tyrannical, you overthrow it and you change it and you put in place a government that works for you. Says it right in there. Now, you tell me how you would go about doing that without, at the very least, having small arms. That's what it's for. But again, the NRA wants to play, pity patty and it's about the artistic, appreciation of firearms. No, it's not. That's not what it's about. That's as bad as the people who run out there and say that the Second Amendment is about hunting. And then when you get over to talking about concealed carry, they say, well, the Second Amendment doesn't guarantee you the right to carry around a loaded firearm. Yeah, because you've been pushing the whole hunting narrative for so long. And so now the anti-gunners, they start pushing, you don't need an AR-15 to kill a deer, right? See how you pigeonhole yourself into a corner when you think that when you're not being intellectually honest about what the actual goal is of why you support the Second Amendment, which is self-defense from anybody, not just the federal government, from anybody. So, I don't want to make this video too long. I'm already at half an hour, but, I have to call it out. And again, people are, hell, I am. I'm a militant black guy. I got a lot of issues with a lot of things that are going on in this society, and the way that I feel that African Americans have been screwed over and pigeonholed and marginalized and discriminated against and everything else. But at the end of the day, I very strongly support your guys' YouTube channels and the Second Amendment. But there's one thing I just want to say before I close out on this video. You guys seem to not understand that free speech is not free. Okay? YouTube is basically purging all controversial material. I see a lot of people saying, oh, it's because it's the left and all this other stuff. They're flagging black militant channels. They're flagging white nationalist channels. They're flagging MGTOW channels. They're flagging gun channels. I mean, they're trying to purge. YouTube is about making money. It's about the monetization. They only want friendly, happy-go-lucky content on here. And then, the military arms channel, what he said at the end, starting at 18 minutes in his video, everything that he said about them wanting to control the narrative, control minds, political agenda is 100% spot on. You know why? Because nobody watches TV anymore. It's one of the reasons why they wanted to pass that whole internet neutrality thing. I don't even know why they called it that. It was basically, let the ISPs, the internet service providers, basically throttle back, internet pages and whatnot, or internet websites, so that they could, slow down the traffic and basically, you got to pay us more, which is going to trickle down onto, the people. They want to be able to control the freedom of information. That's what they want to be able to do. And it just, to me, it's frustrating that in all the time of all these discussions of the Second Amendment, what has happened is that these gun channels have become gun enthusiast channels, where they go out there and they talk about and they promote the most way out there obscure thing. I mean, I don't know how many videos I've seen where somebody, they do this awesome gun. They look at it, they're reviewing it and everything else, and then the price comes out. Wilson Combat. What's that Wilson Combat gun that's like $2,000-$3,000? It's like a 9mm 1911. Y'all know what Wilson Combat one I'm talking about? The one that's got like the little hump on the back. It's got like the Metro Arms Bobcat cut. Okay, that one. Right? Lucky Gunner did a review on that gun. It's like $2,000, $3,000 gun. And I'm like, okay. And again, I have no problem with doing all these expensive, exotic firearms because, a lot of us have fantasy firearms just like we have fantasy cars. But if your video content is 90% expensive guns that nobody can afford, well, guess what? You're not a pro Second Amendment channel. You're not a increase the numbers and get more people involved in guns channel. What you are is a gun enthusiast who is nothing more than an expensive hobbyist and gun collector that likes to show off his expensive stuff. Like what's that guy's name? The something potato, or it's like hippo or potato, hippo potato. I forget I don't know which one it is, but there's this guy on YouTube. His gun collection is just insane. He's got like, Walther, P88s, which is essentially a Zigana Sport, by the way. But anyway, they got Walther P88s and stuff like that, competition guns and whatnot. These guns are thousands of dollars, and it's nice to see it. It's nice to be like, man, that's cool, man. I bet, as a collector, yeah, that's cool. But I've watched people over the years beg and plead with these gun channels. Can you please do a review on more affordable guns? And it's like the gun people, they're like the snobbiest people ever. They're like, no, I don't want to do that. It's, I've handled so many guns. It doesn't excite me. That gun doesn't excite me. And I understand it. It's not exciting to do gun reviews on guns that to you are lousy compared to guns that have awesome triggers like the Walther PPQ or the Janik TP9SA. Right? I get that. But again, what is your goal? What is your goal? Is it to get more people to become gun owners, or is it for you to just show off your gun snobbery? It has to, the trigger has to break like glass, and the gun reset has to have an audible click, and it must reset at a nanometer. A nanometer. That's how I want it to reset. and I want the slide. I want it to slide like an ice skater on ice. The slide in the receiver to just slide so gracefully. And I want there to be absolutely no movement between the slide and the receiver and the barrel. And there needs to be, I want to see the oil come out when I rack the slide, because the fit is just so tight. It just pushes all of the oil out. Yes, that's what I want to see. The tolerance on this gun are just so tight that you have to use a special type of ammo even to get it to run, because it won't run properly with any other ammo because the tolerances are just so wonderfully tight. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, are you done? And this gun is made, the Chris Sphinx, it's made from 3 different materials. You have the steel stainless slide and barrel, then you have the aluminum frame, and then you have the polymer grip. And this gun is $1,400. Yes, isn't it amazing? Now, please like and subscribe. What gun owners do you think you're going to create doing that every day? Anyway, I've made my case. Other gun people who, the random people who follow this channel, again, I'm not trying to get likes. I'm not trying to get subscribes. I'm pretty much leaving YouTube because, it's been contaminated. YouTube was at its best, and I know y'all remember back in the 2007, 2008, 2006, those were the golden years of YouTube. You could say and do whatever you wanted. I mean, it took a lot for you to break YouTube violation policy. Now, it's like you so much as sneeze in the wrong direction, and you're getting strikes on your page. And so I'm like, again, and one of the other things, last point, I know that the full30.com exists and everything else like that, but it's like, see, in terms of diversifying, the gun community, you're going to need some computer science majors and some tech majors, what I say, text major, what am I talking about? Computer science majors and tech people, so that you can create these sort of YouTube alternatives and websites and get people and put it out there. But, y'all haven't been doing that. Y'all have been lazy with your attack or defense, your attack against tyranny and your attack against free speech and your attempt to basically, get the information out there, get the knowledge out there. Lousy. It's like, maybe the gun community is a bunch of, rural white guys that are just into guns and like, Ford, you got your Ford F-150 Raptor and, you like, driving over the mud and stuff like that. Maybe it is, because I'm saying you see the power of all the leftist liberals in Silicon Valley. They control these major platforms. And they didn't put the platforms together so that you could come up there and say what you wanted to say and push an agenda that they don't agree with on the platforms that they own, operate, and control. If anything, I got to say to y'all, which is quite hilarious, welcome to being a black man in America when you don't control the avenues of the conversation. You don't control the own, operate, any of these major entities, right? So what happens is they shut you out. This is what has historically been happening to African Americans. So welcome to the club of how it feels when you get silenced and you get shut up because the people with the power don't agree with you. And they're not going to allow you to push your message on their platform. I mean, this is common. Y'all should have seen this coming. You should have seen this coming. The red flags were popping up for years. And the biggest red flag was when Hickok 45 got his channel shut down. Y'all should have known then. As big as his channel is, as millions of views as he has, y'all should have known then. But what did you do? Oh, well, we're just going to scream free speech. We're not going to do anything about it. Yes, I know there's full30.com, but, from what I hear, there's issues over there. It's invite only, which is a problem. It's not open. You know, that's another thing. I'm like, if you're going to have a gun platform and you're trying to bring new people in, you got to open up. If I wanted to make this video and put it on Full 30 right now, all I should be able to do is the same thing I do on YouTube. Log in, put in my information, and start a channel, have, I don't know, 2 gigabytes of video space per video to put up, and I load it up. Right? All the gun people out there crying, how many people have donated to Full30.com? And I'm saying I can even put my own self in that category. I haven't donated to Full30.com. I actually just subscribed to Full30.com yesterday. Because the first time I went over there, I said, oh, let me check out this Full30.com. And then I got this big wall in front of me. Oh, you got to put in your information and make an account and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, damn, I can't even go over there and glance at the videos and see what you got going on there. I'm like, oh, I'll do this later. And that's what I ended up doing. YouTube, whether I'm signed in or not signed in, I can still watch videos. So I'm like, oh, here y'all go with your speakeasy organization, your speakeasy, gun club, and your speakeasy, non-diverse, non-open door policy organization, and yet you expect to be able to speak to the masses. I call BS. BS. Big time BS. So anyway, I quite thoroughly enjoyed making this video. That is my video. New Jersey gun laws out.